Welcome back, you guys. Your boy CK. Now today we're focused on the best wide receiver from every team. We're gonna change every single number one wide receivers overall to their highest receiving yards per game, and some guys might surprise you. Now I know a lot of you guys play MUT, and sometimes you don't feel like grinding to get the best teams. So if you want to just buy some training or coins or players, head on over to MUTreserve.com. Use my code CK, and not only will you be rich one day, but you'll also get 15% off your order.
In terms of watch time from subscribers,
words can express how thankful I am, and you guys have dropped the percentage from like 75 to 67. I appreciate it, man. Please continue hitting that subscribe button. Let's lower it till we get close to 50. Now I kept it to only one wide receiver per team because a lot of number two guys don't get as many targets as the number ones.
Most teams don't have a number two like Larry Legend.
And Nuke Hopkins, back when he was in Houston, averaged 98 receiving yards per game back in 2018. So his overall is damn near still the same. Devontae recently joined the 99 club. Well deserved. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And his best season is actually this year when he had 98 receiving yards per game. Tyreek is currently at 98 in Madden, and his best yards per game for a season was 92 back in 2018. So that's where we have him, still the best on Kansas City. Diggs is up to a 96 in Madden, and he's gonna stay at a 96. That's what his receiving yards per game were this season in Buffalo, man. He's an absolute stud. Our first 100 plus yard per gamer. Last year, Michael Thomas averaged 108 receiving yards per game. Now you know the max you can go in Madden is 99, so that's where we have him. Julio averaged a whopping 117 receiving yards per game in 2015. That's good for 7th all time in NFL history, and it's the most of any current player. Keenan's been consistently great for a very long time, but his best season came back in 2015 when he averaged 90 receiving yards per game. I think it's the first time we're going to see a wide receiver actually drop in the depth chart on their team based on this experiment. Back in 2019, Amari had his highest receiving yards per game in a season with 74. Mike Evans averaged a nasty 95 yards per game back in 2018. I've always thought this man was extremely underrated, man. Allen Robinson had his highest receiving yards per game back in 2015. Odell has the 15th highest receiving yards per game in a season in NFL history at 109 back in 2014. I remember the stretch a couple years ago when Thielen was just going 100 yards, 100 yards, 100 yards. So this is kind of a little bit surprising that his most receiving yards per game was 86 in that same year that I'm remembering, but yeah, still really good. So in Madden right now, DK is now the highest overall receiver on the Seahawks, which means we had to adjust his overall, and he already has an impressive 81 receiving yards per game as his highest in his career. That happened this year. Scary Terry McLaurin is now a 75. That's his highest receiving yards per game. It happened this year. Robbie Anderson's highest receiving yards per game is 69, and that happened this year, so he's now the number 3 in Carolina. Robert Woods is actually the highest rated wide receiver on the Rams, so he adjusted his overall and not Cooper Kupp's, which means he's now a 76. That's his highest receiving yards per game. Happened back in 2018. Cooks was the highest overall receiver on the Texans, but not anymore because his highest receiving yards per game was 77, and that happened this year. Kenny G had his highest receiving yards per game last year when he had 74 per game, so now he's number 3 in Detroit. Tyler Boyd's highest was 73 back in 2018, so he's now the number 5 in Cincinnati. AJ Brown is averaging a nasty 77 receiving yards per game this year. Devontae is still the number 1 in Miami. He averaged 75 receiving yards per game last year. Juju's sophomore season, 89 yards per game. Courtland Sutton drops to number 5 on the depth chart. His highest receiving yards per game was 70, and that was last year. People forget how good T.Y. Hilton is and has been for a very long time. Back in 2018, he averaged 90 receiving yards per game. Don't get it twisted, Golden has been a beast. He averaged 83 receiving yards per game back in 2014. Chark was the highest overall in Jacksonville. Now he's the lowest. Still a respectable 67 receiving yards per game was what he averaged in 2019. Debo only played about 7 games, but his receiving yards per game this year and last year were pretty much identical. Crowder is the highest overall on the Jets, so he had to adjust his overall, and now he's a 58. That's his highest receiving yards per game. It happened this season. D-Jax is now an 83. That was his receiving yards per game back in 2013. Julian Edelman averaged 77 receiving yards per game in 2015. Tyrell Williams was the highest overall on the Raiders. Now he's a 66. That was his receiving yards per game in 2016. And last but not least, Hollywood is now a 48 overall. That's his highest receiving yards per game. It happened this season. So some teams are going to improve, obviously, but some teams got a little bit worse. Let's go find out how this played out and simulate the entire season. Didn't expect the Jaguars to do much better. Their best receiver went down to a 67. Same with the football team. A lot of these teams at the bottom, their best receiver got worse. Cardinals is a little bit surprising. Cowboys with Amari going down to a 74 actually had the best record in the league. Edelman led the league in receiving yards per game. No one had 100. 94 ends up being highest. Willie Snead ends up with 93. Golden Tate at 86. 15 touchdowns from Stephon Diggs led everybody. Of course, Edelman led everyone in receiving yards and he led everyone in receptions. The Patriots might have gone pretty far. Cam Newton, of course, wins MVP. No surprises there. We have a Packers versus Browns Super Bowl. Could y'all see this happening in real life? I don't know, man. I don't want to rule it out completely. But hey, the Browns took care of the Chiefs in the divisional round, took care of the Ravens, the Raiders. Packers beat the Seahawks, the Buccaneers by 1 point, and the Rams in round 1. So it's not going to be an easy matchup for either team. All right, let's see what it looks like with Devontae. Well, pretty much at the same overall. Like, pretty much nothing changed for the Packers. They had an elite wide receiver, and now they still have an elite wide receiver who they're going to. It's a little bit overthrown. Now they're going to the 5 wide. Myles Garrett making life hell for Rodgers, forcing them to throw it early, and they're going to have to punt. Now it's the Browns' turn. They're already in the 3rd and 9. Odell's a 99, so I think that helped them a lot during the season. Baker going deep to him. And look at that. Odell turning back the clock, making this look like Madden 16. Baker on 3rd and inches, gonna throw a dot to Kareem. And the Browns are looking good early on. Let's see if they can hold on and win their first Super Bowl. So they do end up winning at the end of this experiment. Odell, having his overall change to his receiving yards per game, ends up doing wonders for the Browns. Baker Mayfield getting it done, beating Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, man. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Real quick, Odell staying consistent with a solid 98 yards in the final game of the season. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching as usual. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on my second channel, man. For the ones that want to see the 2 legends added to every team series continue, I'm going to be doing it over there as soon as we reach 10,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone that stayed to the end of the video, man. I do appreciate all the support, all the love, all the likes, man. Hopefully you guys have an amazing weekend. Follow me on Facebook. I should be streaming right after this video goes live. So if you want some more content, I'll probably be playing 2K. And I'm going to be streaming throughout the weekend. So yeah, make sure you follow me over there. Once again, thank you. And I'll see you on the next one.